as anybody and maybe more than most. One of the most sinister accomplices in Kamala's plot to demolish American borders has been her ally and partner in the U.S. Senate, one of the biggest phonies in American politics. His name is Jon Tester. And I don't speak badly about somebody's physical disability, but he's got the biggest stomach I have ever seen, I swear. I swear. That's the biggest stomach. I have never seen a stomach like that. Because he doesn't look that heavy. You're not allowed to use the word fat. So if you use the word fat, you can say obese, you can say anything, but you can't say fat. That's the end of your political career. I said it the other night. Somebody in the audience said, Chris Christie is a fat pig. And I said, sir, Chris Christie is not a fat pig. You should not. And we argued about it for 3 or 4 minutes. So that was it. No, he's not a fat pig. For years, Tester has been telling Montana that he's a moderate while he votes with Biden, Harris, and Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas. Remember Pocahontas? Pocahontas, I have more Indian blood in me than she has in her, and I have none. I happen to have none. But Kamala votes with them 100% of the time. Did you know that, Steve? 100% of the time. I promise you, Tim will not be voting 100%. He may vote with them 0. I would say 0 would be close. But in a 50-50 Senate, Tester could have single-handedly stopped the invasion of our country, but he voted against stopping it. Instead, Tester voted for mass amnesty. He voted against the border wall, totally voted against the wall. Who the hell would vote against the wall? He voted against remain in Mexico. Remember, I had the policy, the greatest policy of all. You couldn't come into our country, you had to remain. They had hundreds of thousands of people that came up from the South. Hundreds of thousands, they couldn't get into our country. He ended it. And these people came in. You think it was easy to get that deal with Mexico? It was very tough. I had to say, I'm going to put a lot of tariffs on you. They give it to me or not. They were very nice. It was amazing. They wouldn't give it to me. They said, no, sir, we won't do that. I said, all right, I'm going to tariff your cars at 100%. Sir, we'd love to give you that. We would love a policy of remain in Mexico. We think it's wonderful. You had to see Tijuana. Tijuana was the fastest growing city in the history of the world. They were having hundreds of thousands of people pour into Tijuana, but they couldn't come into our country because I said to Mexico, you can stop them. You can stop them at your southern border, down below. And you know those caravans, I think I came up with that name, but they are a caravan. They're very horrible, very dangerous for women, very dangerous. Women die all the time. They're being raped. They're dying. The whole thing is a horror show. He voted against Title 42. That's a bad one. He voted against increasing funding for ICE. He voted to provide the deciding vote to shield illegal alien criminals like the one who murdered Laken Riley from deportation. He didn't want the person deported. He didn't want any deportation for that person. If you elect Jon Tester, you are approving the Harris plan to make the 20 million Biden illegals into voting citizens. She said today she wants to give them the right to vote. Many of these people are killers and criminals. They're not going to have the right to vote, and they're not going to destroy our country. She also voted to give them welfare, government health care, and let them raid Medicare and Social Security until there is nothing left. They will destroy Social Security. I will save your Social Security with no increase in age or anything else. Jon Tester cast the decisive vote to approve every single bill that caused record inflation. Remember the Inflation Reduction Act? It was a phony. They used the term inflation reduction. It was actually an Inflation Increase Act. It was a disaster, but they lied because that's what they're good at. They're con people. You know what they are? Misinformation, disinformation. After they got the bill passed, which they shouldn't have had, trillions of dollars Inflation went through the roof. He cast a vote to kill the Keystone XL pipeline. Do you remember that? The Keystone X. What the hell are these reporters doing over here? Pulitzer Prize winner. Doug Mills, the great Doug Mills, Pulitzer Prize. Even though he works for the New York Times, that's okay. He works for the New York Times, and that's one of the only Pulitzer Prizes that was actually earned. Maggot Hagerman. Did you ever hear of it? Maggot Hagerman. She's a reporter. She pretends like she knows more about Trump. I have nothing to do. If the woman speaks to me once in a year, today I called her. I said, your stories are all fake. Why don't you stop it? But think of it. They have a man here who I really like. He's a great photographer. Doug, it's nice to have you. Make me look nice and thin if you don't mind. He voted for environmental extremist Tracy Stone Manning to lead the Bureau of Land Management, and he voted the radical left Interior Secretary, Deb Haaland, you know who that is, don't you, to wage war on your rights and on your industries, and they really did wage war. But we have a man here, and I'm going to introduce some of your people. We have a man here who knows Tester better than I do, better than anybody does. And Tester and I have nothing to do with each other. And when you watch his commercials, you can forget it. He never votes for me. He voted to impeach me. That guy voted to impeach me, stomach brimming out like a big slob. Do you want to? I want to impeach. Why? I don't know. What did he do wrong? I did nothing wrong. But I have to tell you, the Republicans stuck with me, and we won very easily. We beat it. But there's a man named Ronnie Jackson. He comes from Texas, and he heard it was a race against Tester, and he was treated so unfairly. Could I ask Congress?